What is up, guys? Today it is November 8th. It is also the day of the blood moon, the total lunar eclipse that won't happen again until 2025. And on this day of the blood moon, we are seeing a lot of blood in the markets with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies going down. Now, in this video, I want to give a bit of an update on what exactly is happening and why this is happening, and then let's look at the charts with some levels so that we can continue to maintain the strategy of if then, based on certain levels. If we hold levels, we're likely to bounce. If we break certain levels, we're likely to go lower. And then, of course, all of that information can then help you to create a better strategy, or to at least understand the market better, what is going on. So for a quick overview of the markets, you can see here on coin360.com, gives a nice snapshot, and everything is pretty red over here. Bitcoin had a nice little drop overnight. We're doing so well. We're almost at that 3-day 50 moving average and at 21,300, and now we drop back to below 20,000. So the question is this a short-term little drop that's going to bounce and recover and continue the upside, or is this a start of a potential bigger capitulation that could take us to new lows and get that final flush out, perhaps into the low teens, as has still been a possibility? Now again, let me start out by saying today is the blood moon, the total lunar eclipse on November 8th. This is a rare total eclipse of the moon. It is called the Beaver Blood Moon Lunar Eclipse, and this probably means nothing to you. I'm just pointing this out to you that it is interesting that this market sell-off is happening at the exact day of this lunar eclipse. And there's a whole lot of people who believe that astrology is complete garbage and it has nothing to do with financial markets. And there's also a team of people, or a crew of people, who believe that the financial market cycles tend to follow astrology with the planets and the solar eclipses and the lunar eclipses and that sort of thing. I don't know too much about it, but I do tend to pay attention when things like this show up. And is it just another coincidence? Go back in time and look what happened in previous total solar and lunar eclipses and what markets did during that time. As you can see over here, there was also a total lunar eclipse on the 15th to 16th of May, which, if you go back, the complete bottom was in about middle of June. So a month before the complete bottom, we also had a lunar eclipse. So, is there something to this? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about it, but it is an interesting coincidence that we are seeing in November. We are seeing a sell-off going into this lunar eclipse. So let's see how that ends up playing out. Now, what started the sell-off was a few days ago, CZ, the CEO of Binance, tweeted this tweet. As part of Binance exit from FTX equity last year, Binance received roughly $2.1 billion equivalent in cash, BUSD, and FTT. Now, for those of you who don't know, FTX is also a big cryptocurrency exchange like Binance. In fact, Binance was actually one of the early investors in FTX. Now, FTX has become a very big exchange during the bull market. They received hundreds of millions of dollars in funding, huge valuations. They did crazy advertisements. They had celebrities endorsing FTX to be able to get people in there, and they've been a big exchange. They also have a US regulated exchange, FTX.US. Now, Binance and FTX have been having beef for a long time. Actually, Binance got out of their investment. You can see over here, they received that equivalent, and FTT is the token of FTX exchange. So just like Binance has the BNB token, FTX has the FTT token. The only difference is that Binance, or BNB token, actually has its own chain, and it has a whole ecosystem built on top of it. It has PancakeSwap, it is a native chain. There's all sorts of other coins being built on it. While FTT is just an Ethereum-based token. It's an ERC20 token. It doesn't have its own chain. It doesn't have its own ecosystem. So there is a big difference between FTT and BNB token. But you can see over here, Binance received $2.1 billion in BUSD, which is a stable coin. It's 1-to-1 with the US dollar, and FTT, which is the FTX exchange token. And then he went on to tweet, due to recent revelations that have come to light, we have decided to liquidate any remaining FTT on our books. So this is what started this fear in the market and potentially creating the sell-off now, which may or may not lead to even more downside in the coming days. We'll have to wait and see. We'll go look at some charts in a bit. But what he's saying here is basically we will try to do so in a way that minimizes market impact. Due to market conditions and limited liquidity, we expect this to take a few months to sell off all their tokens. Binance always encourages collaboration between industry players regarding any speculation as to whether it's a move against a competitor. It is not. That is what he is saying. Our industry is at its nascency, and every time a project publicly fails, it hurts every user and every platform. We typically hold tokens for the longer term, and if held onto this token for long, we stay transparent with our actions. So, okay, CZ is tweeting this, but, you know, in my mind, I'm asking myself, why is he doing this publicly? Why can he not just do this without having to tweet about it? Why have to tweet about it publicly, knowing in what state this market is, in this bear market, how fragile the market is, and this is a big deal. Binance is a huge exchange, and FTX is also a big exchange, and this creates a lot of fear and panic in the markets. And was it necessary to do it publicly like this? No, he could have just sold his FTT, or he could have just made a blog post about it at some point once it's done, or he could have done an OTC, over the counter without doing it in market. This is basically just creating a lot of fear in the markets. People are now speculating, they're panicking, they're going to FTX and withdrawing, and all sorts of things sparked from this very tweet. And of course, it is also a very interesting coincidence of the timing of this tweet, literally 3 days before this blood moon, which also happens to be the day of the US midterm elections. So there's a lot of coincidences here. You can speculate about it all you want. I'm just bringing that to your attention. Now, some other things that have come to light is that Alameda, so Alameda is a research firm, and it is also part of the same entity. Maybe not legally or technically speaking, but basically it's known that Alameda is Sam Bankman-Fried, who's also FTX, right? There's a lot of moving parts to this. So basically, Alameda had 14.6 billion of assets on June 30th, according to a private document CoinDesk reviewed. But much of it is the FTT token issued by FTX, which is another Bankman-Fried company. So, billionaire Sam, his cryptocurrency empire is officially broken into two parts, FTX and Alameda Research, which is his trading firm. And even though they are supposed to be separate businesses, they're still interlinked, and maybe more than we actually know. I don't know the exact details, but there's a lot of correlation here where saying that Alameda has a balance sheet full of FTX FTT token, meaning that they own the majority of the supply, and then there's speculations and rumor that this FTT tokens that Alameda holds are being used as collateral for loans to be able to speculate on other things, and that is where CZ actually made the parallel to FTX potentially being like Luna. So we see this tweet over here by CZ saying liquidating our FTT is just post-exit risk management, learning from Luna. So again, you can see, even though maybe he had to do this, or maybe they had to do this, Binance had to do this for their own risk management and everything like that, public tweets like this, they weren't necessary. And either this is maybe just some sort of childish disagreement or feud between CZ and Sam, ego thing between billionaires and different exchanges. Was this necessary? Hinting that FTT is potentially Luna, throwing them in the same basket. And we all know what happened with the Terra Luna collapse, where, that coin that was worth tens of billions of dollars pretty much evaporated. And the comparison is, of course, not valid because Luna was a completely different thing. It was a stable coin with another coin. It was an algorithmic stable coin that is completely different to what FTX is, the exchange with hundreds of millions of dollars of real funding and so on and so forth. But of course, CZ is followed by, you can see, millions and millions of people, 7.3 million followers, right? And of course, people respect his opinion and listen to what he says. So if he's saying, I'm liquidating my FTT and I don't want this to be potentially another Luna situation, look, we gave support before, but we won't pretend to make love after divorce. We are not against anyone, but we won't support people who lobby against other industry players behind their backs, right? So there is some sort of bad blood between the two of them. Sam was doing all sorts of lobbying, and there's just bad blood between these two. And from what I can see, In my opinion, this is clearly just CZ taking a stab at Sam and making it public and documenting it, and potentially with the intention, who knows, of being able to benefit from that, or being able to push his competitor down, because this is causing real problems for FTX exchange. And you can see over here from this screenshot from Nansen, they're saying here the withdrawals from FTX, and this is already old, it's a lot more at this point, is just because of this fear and this FUD that CZ started creating. It just creates this panic and basically a bank run where people are thinking, hey, maybe FTX is the next Terra Luna and I want to get all my funds off the exchange. And you can see as a result, hundreds of millions of dollars were withdrawn from FTX exchange. And of course, even if they do completely have all the user funds, which Sam claims they do, we'll have to find out in time, of course. But even if they have that, you don't normally have all of that available at one time to be able to process hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in a 24-hour period. So if there is this run on FTX where everyone is withdrawing at the same time just because of fear, even if there is no problem, that can actually create a problem in the short term, and that can cause market positions to have to be sold off at market, which is causing this potential pullback here in the crypto markets. So let's head over to the charts and see what actually the damage is and what is happening, because it might not be as bad as what people think it is. Now, the markets dropped. Okay, we went from 21,300, we went back to 19.5. And if you've been seeing my last couple of videos, have been more towards the bullish side, saying we have potential reclaims of important moving averages and things like that. And of course, right now we get that pullback. The question is going to be, is that the result that what we saw was just a bear market rally, it was another trap, and we are going to completely break down and go to new lows? Or is this fear and FUD in the market that's happening right now not justified? Is it just a temporary scare? Does it turn out that FTX is completely solvent, completely has all the user deposits, there's no issues, everything is fine, and this brief moment of peak fear and FUD reverses and we continue going higher? And again, that is why I like to look at the charts, because they guide us to what is happening. So let's start out by looking over here at the 3-day chart, and we were getting very, very close with Bitcoin to reclaiming this 50 moving average on the 3-day chart. As you can see over here, we had one slight little close above it, and this is why it's so important, why I say we need at least 2 candle closes above a reclaimed level, because that just reduces the chance of it being a fake out. You can see over here also, we didn't have 2 closes above it. We had one, then we dropped back below it. We had one slight one. So we didn't have 2 consecutive closes above it, and then it was a fake out and ended up going back down. Now, we still have, at this point in time, as I'm making this, a little bit less than 24 hours to go before this candle closes. So if there is some miracle and we completely reverse back up and close back above it again, this would have ended up being a very nice bear trap, right? Thinking that it's going to break down, and it reverses and goes back higher. So we will have to wait and see what is going to happen. And again, it's all about an if-then scenario. So if we break this 19.5 level, which I've been saying, then I think we could go lower. But if we continue to hold it, there is still potential for upside, in my opinion. And as you can see, we're currently sitting at 19,800, and it dropped to 19,351 on a wick, right? But it's pulled back to 19.8 already. So that's why I'm saying this 19.5 level is important for me to watch. And you can see on the daily, it is basically the 50 moving average on the 1-day chart. And you can see we got above it. So far we've retested it, but we're starting to pull up. So how we are going to close today is going to be important, in my opinion. Do we close above or below this 19.5 level, and above or below this 50-day moving average? Because if we do close below it and we get continuation here, I do think there's potential for retesting the lows or maybe even seeing new lows. But if we hold, again, this could just be a retest before continuing higher. So again, we look at the charts and we try and keep a rational approach to it. The emotions are out. What is happening? If you look on social media, there's lots of fear and FUD, everyone withdrawing from FTX, saying, oh, they're insolvent, blah, blah, blah. But what if they're not, right? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. And personally, I doubt that they are insolvent. But of course, in these market conditions, there's a lot of fear and panic. And of course, if a big exchange like Binance starts market selling hundreds of millions of dollars of the FTT token, the FTX token, we of course see an effect. And let me scroll over to that because, we can see just from an outsider perspective, this just really seems like a battle or like a grudge between these two billionaires, these two CEOs of important exchanges that are, battling it out in public. You can see the FTX token took a big dive over here, where it went from 25 all the way to about 16 over here. So what is going to end up happening? We'll have to wait and see. This was obviously a key support. You can see horizontally how much support there was over there. But of course, a lot of pressure being put on FTT. Now, Solana is also a coin that Sam is very much involved with, and it also took a bit of a beating. But in the grand scheme of things, you can see, sure, you can say, oh, okay, it sold off in a big way. But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, look where it came from. And this is just another little blip. If you didn't know what was happening in terms of between Sam and CZ, you would say, oh, this is just another little bear market pump and dump, right? And okay, we're back here below the 50 moving average on the daily, but we can still see the RSI is not yet confirming this. There's still a bullish divergence over here. And again, this could still be another fake out where it took out the low over here. It wicked below it for anyone who's too eager to get long over here. And maybe it just took the liquidity and things are going to reverse back up if it ends up showing that FTX is completely solvent and this was all just a bit of FUD. So basically my conclusion at this point is, again, let's wait and see what happens for the rest of the day and the next few days. Let's wait and see if we do get continuation and follow through here or not. Again, if, then, right? We keep an eye on this. If we close below 19.5, we get back below this 50-day moving average, then we have to start worrying about potentially, is there a more bearish scenario in place? Do we go back to the lows? Do we go to new lows? Do we completely break down? And that is a possibility. Maybe by the time I upload this video and you're watching this, maybe the whole market's collapsed at that point, and then of course, we have that further downside. But in the case that it doesn't happen, and we do hold this 19.5, and we do manage to stay above this 50-day moving average with a daily close and another daily close, perhaps there is still chance that this was a shakeout and we still continue the upside. So what's going to happen, how today is going to close, is going to be crucial for further movement. And like I've been saying, that's why I said on the 3-day chart, we need 2 candle closes, consecutive closes above that level to be able to reduce the chance of it being a fake out. That is also why I've been saying I want to see it close back above 24,000, which is the 200-day moving average and the 200-week moving average on Bitcoin before turning more medium-term bullish. But in between, it's just a matter of, this is a range. We're trading here. It's a battle of the bears and bulls. But ultimately, we have to wait for a direction over here. So let's see what today is going to end up bringing us. Are we going to sell off more? Let me know what you think in the comments. How do you feel? Do you think we're going to get a major sell-off and more downside, or do you think this was a bear trap and we are basically going to bounce from here and continue going higher? Let me know in the comments what you think, and ultimately subscribe down below, smash the like button. I will do an update maybe tomorrow or maybe in a couple of days to see how things ended up playing out.